Okay, welcome back, everyone. Let's just dive right in. If you've been reading The Two Towers sequentially, you've just finished book 3.
And we'll have to finish.
Exactly. I mean, it's just relentless, isn't it? Huge scale. You've got the writers of Rohan charging, the whole political drama with Theoden, Saruman.
Sounds deep, the Ents marching on Isengard. It's pure epic fantasy on a massive canvas.
Right, you're running alongside Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, across these vast plains. It feels grand, it's loud, it's about kingdoms and armies clashing, really high-stakes public stuff.
It really is blockbuster material, as you said. The fate of Middle-earth feels like it's being decided on those battlefields.
And then, bang, Tolkien just slams on the brakes. It's one of the most surprising narrative shifts I can think of in fantasy.
It really is jarring.
We just leave all that behind. No more sweeping battles, no court intrigue, no big heroics from the three hunters. Suddenly, book 4 opens, and the focus snaps right down.
Way down.
Into just two hobbits, completely worn out, lost in this gloomy, oppressive landscape. And there's this creature stalking them.
Gollum or Smeagol.
Precisely. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to zero in on that first chapter of Book 4, The Taming of Smeagol. We want to unpack why this specific moment, this shift from the epic to the intimate, is actually the moral hinge of the entire trilogy.
It absolutely is. Critics often point to this chapter as, well, a masterclass in shifting narrative gears.
Yeah.
We trade the massive external conflict for something incredibly internal, deeply personal.
So the battle moves inside, essentially.
Completely. It's no longer about swords and armies, it's about willpower, about trust, about the slow creep of corruption. And for you listening, getting a handle on this chapter, it's really a shortcut to understanding Tolkien's core themes. Mercy, the nature of evil, the burden of the ring, the psychological cost of the quest. This isn't just plot. It's a moral study unfolding.
Okay, so before we get to Gollum himself, let's really establish this radical change in storytelling. How does Tolkien pull off this shift from the epic to the intimate so effectively?
Well, it's immediate, isn't it? The moment book 4 begins, that huge, expansive feeling of book 3 just vanishes.
Yeah, it's like the camera zooms all the way in.
Exactly. All that energy from Rohan, the battles, the collective action of the Rohirrim or the Ents that's gone, that feeling of shared purpose, of large groups fighting together, it's stripped away completely.
And what replaces it is, well, it's bleak. There's this overwhelming sense of exhaustion right from the first sentence, loneliness too, and as you said, it feels incredibly claustrophobic.
Mm-hmm. The world literally shrinks around Frodo and Sam. It's not just a smaller story in terms of characters. The physical space feels tight, suffocating, oppressive.
And Tolkien uses the setting itself to do a lot of that work, right? The Emyn the dead marshes. These aren't exactly scenic spots.
Not at all. And that's deliberate. The landscape stops being this, majestic backdrop for heroic deeds like the Plains of Rohan. Instead, it becomes almost a character in itself, mirroring the internal struggles of Frodo and Sam. Think about the descriptions. The Emyn are these jagged, sharp, confusing rocks. Hard to navigate, easy to get lost in. It reflects their own uncertainty, their lack of a clear path.
Okay.
And then the dead marshes. Well, that's even more potent. It's a place of death, decay, and haunting memory. Those ghostly lights, the faces in the water, it's treacherous, foul-smelling, literally sucking the life out of them.
It sounds utterly miserable, which I guess is the point.
Absolutely. The setting isn't about wonder or adventure here. It's about pure grinding survival, minute by minute. The descriptions focus on the mud, the mist, the weariness, the sheer physical effort of moving through this hostile place.
So the grandeur is replaced by grit, basically.
And despair. The sky itself is perpetually dimmed by Sauron's power. There's no clear sunlight, just this oppressive gloom. It forces you, the reader, to feel the weight, the exhaustion, the hopelessness that's constantly pressing in on them.
And the pacing changes too, doesn't it, compared to the rush towards Helm's Deep?
Oh, dramatically. Tolkien deliberately slows everything right down. He lingers on the difficulty of the terrain, the rationing of food, the monotony of their days.
You really feel the drag.
Yes. He forces you to inhabit that monotony. The road to Mordor isn't portrayed as a thrilling adventure here. It's shown as wearying, bleak, suffocatingly real. It's about sore feet, lack of sleep, the constant low-level fear.
It strips away the epic heroism.
Completely. There's no glory here. There's just the struggle of two very small, very isolated individuals against, well, everything. The focus becomes intensely psychological. It's about what's happening inside their heads in their relationship.
Which redefines what courage looks like in this part of the story. It's not charging into battle anymore.
No, courage here is just continuing. It's putting one foot in front of the other when every part of you wants to give up. It's Sam trying to keep Frodo going. It's enduring the despair of the road itself.
So the external world becomes this oppressive force crushing inwards, which means the only thing left for them to rely on is each other.
Precisely. And that's where the focus shifts next. This intense, almost suffocating environment throws all the weight onto the dynamic between Frodo and Sam.
With the rest of the Fellowship scattered, Gandalf gone. They really are completely alone now, aren't they?
Utterly alone. And that isolation is critical. Their friendship becomes the absolute emotional core of this entire half of the book. There's no one else. No Aragorn for guidance, no Gandalf for wisdom, no Boromir. Well, no Boromir. Just them.
And the strain starts to show almost immediately. Their roles become very clear.
Very. Sam steps up as the practical one, the anchor to reality, in a way.
Even though he's completely out of his depth, right? He must be terrified.
Oh, absolutely terrified. He's homesick, he's exhausted, he doesn't understand the geography or the larger strategic picture. There are moments you can feel his resentment about how hard the journey is. But underlying all that is this absolute, unwavering devotion to Frodo.
It's almost religious, his loyalty.
It really is. And he channels that loyalty into practical action. He's the one worrying about the rope, counting the lembas, trying to cook something, scanning the horizon. He's trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy, of Hobbit sense.
He's carrying the Shire with him in a way. His suspicion of Gollum, his focus on food and rest.
Exactly, that earthy common sense, that practicality, it grounds the narrative. He keeps things real, even amidst the growing despair and the supernatural weight of the ring. He's survival, personified in a Hobbit gardener.
But while Sam is sort of digging in his heels, trying to stay grounded, Frodo is drifting.
He is, and that contrast is deliberate and alarming. Frodo is moving in the opposite direction. The ring isn't just a physical weight anymore, it's actively eroding his spirit.
How does that show itself?
He's becoming quieter, more withdrawn, sterner even.
Oh.
The text mentions his eyes seem older, burdened. He's less the gentle, curious hobbit from the Shire.
And more the ring bearer.
Exactly. That title starts to define him, consume him. He's weighed down by the knowledge of the ring's power, its seductive whispers. You see him becoming more distant, even from Sam at times.
That must be incredibly hard for Sam to witness.
It is. Because Sam doesn't fully grasp the internal battle Frodo is fighting. He just sees his master changing, becoming cold, less communicative.
And this is where that isolation becomes so dangerous, isn't it? It works both ways.
It does. The single-minded purpose, the isolation, it gives Frodo the resolve he needs to keep going, in a way. It ennobles him, focuses his will, but at the same time, it erodes his connections, his very self. It distances him from the love and friendship that are ultimately supposed to be what he's fighting for.
So the burden is strengthening his resolve, but weakening his humanity.
In a sense, yes. It's a paradox. The better he gets at bearing the ring, the less he seems like Frodo Baggins. We see flashes of irritability, moments where he snaps at Sam, his lack of appetite. These are all signs that the burden is taking a terrible toll.
It sounds incredibly lonely for both of them in different ways.
Deeply lonely. Frodo is retreating into the abstract mission, almost becoming one with the ring's burden. Sam is left trying to manage the physical world while feeling increasingly shut out emotionally.
But Sam doesn't give up. He sees Frodo fading, and he just takes on more responsibility.
He does. He becomes protector, provider, motivator, a bodyguard, a parent, a conscience, all rolled into one. But you can feel the strain. There are those moments of quiet frustration, the sense that this is unfair. He's carrying so much and getting less and less back from the master he adores.
And it's this strained dynamic, this atmosphere of exhaustion and erosion that sets the stage for Gollum's entrance, isn't it?
Precisely. Their own fellowship is already stretched thin. They're vulnerable. And that vulnerability, particularly Frodo's growing sense of shared burden with the ring, makes him receptive to the absolutely crazy risk he's about to take.
Okay, so Gollum is finally captured. They corner him. This is the climax of the chapter, and it feels like a huge turning point. Sam's reaction seems pretty straightforward.
Oh, yeah. Sam's been watching Gollum, hating Gollum, fearing Gollum for the whole journey. For him, this is simple. Gollum is the enemy. He's treacherous. He's murdered before. He wants the ring. The logical, practical thing to do is eliminate the threat.
Neutralize him. Get rid of him. From a survival perspective, it makes perfect sense.
Completely. Sam's view is shaped by immediate danger and his fierce loyalty to Frodo. Kill Gollum, secure the mission. It's the sensible Hobbit sense thing to do.
And Tolkien presents that logic very clearly. It's a valid perspective.
Absolutely. But then Frodo does something else entirely. Despite everything, despite the danger Gollum represents, Frodo sees something more than just a monster.
Pity.
A profound, fateful pity. He looks at this wretched creature and he recognizes not just an enemy, but a victim of the same thing that is slowly consuming him, the ring.
And this immediately throws us back to Gandalf's words in Fellowship, doesn't it?
Hmm.
My heart tells me that he has some part to play yet, for good or ill, before the end. And when that comes, the pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of many.
Exactly. That line, which seemed like a bit of philosophical musing back in Bag End, suddenly snaps into sharp focus. It's not theoretical anymore. It's Frodo's immediate, terrifying responsibility.
He sees Gollum's fate tangled up with his own.
He does. He understands, perhaps instinctively, that their paths are linked. He sees Gollum not just as what he is, treacherous, corrupted, but as what he was, and perhaps what Frodo himself could become. It's a moment of deep, albeit dangerous, empathy.
Even though Gollum is actively trying to escape and probably plotting against them already?
Yes, that's what makes the choice so radical. It goes against all self-preservation instincts, and it's Frodo, the one most burdened by the ring, who insists on it. It shows that the ring hasn't completely extinguished his compassion.
But then he takes it a step further. He doesn't just spare Gollum, he decides to use him. He makes him swear an oath.
The oath, yes. This is where it gets incredibly risky. He commands Gollum to serve him, to be their guide.
And he makes him swear on the ring, on the precious itself.
Which from any rational standpoint seems like utter madness.
Right, you're using the very source of his corruption and obsession as the guarantee of his loyalty. It feels doomed to fail.
It's the ultimate gamble. But critically, the analysis suggests this isn't primarily a strategic move for Frodo. Not at first, anyway. It's born out of that initial pity.
So it's a moral impulse, not a tactical one.
Largely, yes.
Yeah.
At that exact moment, they didn't necessarily know they needed Gollum's specific knowledge of the secret paths. Frodo's primary drive seems to be this act of mercy. By choosing not to kill Gollum, by trying to bind him through an oath rather than just brute force or death, Frodo is asserting a different kind of power.
What kind of power?
The power of compassion. Tolkien consistently presents mercy, even towards the seemingly irredeemable, as a higher form of strength than mere destruction. Killing Gollum would be easy, efficient, the way Sauron or Saruman might solve the problem.
Okay.
But Frodo chooses the harder path, the path that keeps a flicker of hope alive, however faint. It's incredibly risky, it requires constant vigilance, but it aligns with the fundamental goodness that the quest is trying to preserve.
Wait, I have to push back on that a little. From Sam's point of view, and maybe for the reader too, isn't this a terrible weakness? It potentially dooms the whole quest if Gollum leads them into a trap.
And that's the tension. You're absolutely right to question it. Sam's fear is completely justified. Gollum is dangerous. The narrative doesn't shy away from that.
So how can it be strength?
Because Tolkien's argument embedded in the story seems to be that you cannot defeat ultimate evil by adopting its methods. You can't beat Sauron by becoming like Sauron, ruthless, expedient, valuing power over pity. Frodo's choice, however naive it seems, is a rejection of that dark logic.
It's an anti-authoritarian choice, in a way.
Exactly. I will not destroy even when it seems necessary. And as it turns out, Gandalf had foreseen that Gollum's knowledge might be vital. So the moral choice, born of pity, ends up having a crucial strategic payoff down the line, even if Frodo didn't fully realize it at the time.
So the act of mercy creates the path forward, in a strange way.
It opens a possibility that violence would have closed forever. And this decision immediately changes the dynamic again. Now they're not just two hobbits, they're two hobbits bound to this fractured, dangerous creature who embodies everything Frodo fears.
This is where the chapter really shifts into deep psychological territory, isn't it? Gollum isn't just a guide or a prisoner anymore.
No, he becomes something much more profound and disturbing. He becomes a living, breathing moral mirror for Frodo.
How so? What does Frodo see reflected?
He sees his own potential future. Both Frodo and Gollum are ring bearers. Both have felt the ring's power, its addictive pull, its slow corruption of the will. Gollum is simply further down the path.
He's what Frodo could become if he fails.
Precisely. He's a walking, talking cautionary tale. Every time Frodo looks at Gollum, at his obsession, his misery, his split personality, he's getting a glimpse of the fate that awaits him if he succumbs fully to the ring. The journey with Gollum is a constant, terrifying confrontation with his own potential damnation.
It's chilling. And Tolkien's portrayal of Gollum's fractured mind is just incredible. The way he splits between Smeagol and Gollum.
It's one of his greatest literary achievements in the whole book, I think. He gives us two distinct personalities warring within one wretched body.
You have the Gollum personality, the creature defined by the ring. Scheming, hateful, resentful, driven by pure possessive hunger for the precious.
Yes, the creature that emerged after the murder of Daegol and the long isolation under the mountains. That's the dominant, powerful side.
But then there's Smeagol, the remnant of the hobbit he once was.
Right. Timid, fearful, capable of remembering kindness, sunlight, friendship, almost childlike in his desire to please Frodo, whom he calls master. This is the side that responds, however weakly, to Frodo's pity.
And the taming in the chapter title refers to Smeagol gaining ground.
Temporarily, yes. Frodo's kindness seems to strengthen the Smeagol persona. Smeagol wants to be good, wants to help his kind master. He seems ascendant for a while, but it's a fragile state.
It's not true rehabilitation.
No, it's more like the weaker personality being temporarily coaxed out by external kindness and, crucially, by fear of the master and a pain associated with breaking the oath sworn on the ring. The underlying Gollum is always there, waiting.
And the language Tolkien uses is key to showing the split, right? The pronouns.
Oh, absolutely masterful. You can track the internal battle just by listening to his grammar. When the Smeagol side is dominant, remembering politeness or trying to be helpful, he tends to use the singular I will try, I want to help.
Okay.
But when the darkness, the obsession, the Gollum personality takes over, he immediately shifts to that corrupted, isolating plural, we, us, our, we hates it, nasty hobbits is trying to steal it from us.
That shift from I to we is like a switch flipping. It literally shows the fractured self.
It's brilliant psychological rendering through dialogue, and the specific word choices, precious, Gollum throat noise, the hissing, create this unforgettable, deeply unsettling character who's both pitiable and horrifying.
So Sam relies on the elvish rope to control Gollum.
Physically, yes, Sam trusts the rope.
But the analysis suggests the real leash is Frodo's pity.
That's the deeper insight. The rope keeps Gollum there, but it's Frodo's compassion, his willingness to treat Smeagol as something potentially salvageable that keeps the Gollum personality somewhat in check, at least for a time. Pity gives Smeagol hope, a reason to resist Gollum's pull.
But this must be incredibly draining for Frodo, to constantly extend that pity, knowing how dangerous Gollum is.
Immensely draining and dangerous. Because by showing pity, by engaging with the Smeagol side, Frodo risks empathizing too much. He risks blurring the lines between himself and this creature.
Getting pulled closer to the darkness himself.
Exactly. He has to constantly interact with the living embodiment of his own greatest fear and temptation. Every conversation, every shared glance is a reminder of the abyss waiting for him. He sees Gollum's desperate craving for the ring.
And recognizes it.
He must. He starts to see Gollum less as a monster and more as a fellow sufferer, a victim who is just weaker than he is. This creates a strange, perilous bond. Frodo feels responsible for Smeagol, wants to save him in a way, which is both noble and incredibly risky for his own soul.
It adds such a tragic depth. The act of mercy needed for the quest might also be poisoning the one carrying it out.
That's the terrible paradox at the heart of this section. And Tolkien, thankfully, uses Sam to keep things grounded.
Right, Sam's mutterings about food or orcs or just common sense.
Exactly. Sam's practical, often humorous perspective provides a necessary anchor. It prevents the story from becoming purely internal psychological horror. You have Frodo's heavy, silent introspection, Gollum's fractured psyche, and then Sam worrying about whether the rope is strong enough. It's a masterful balancing act.
Okay, let's try and pull together the big themes that crystallize in this chapter. It's clearly doing more than just getting them a guide.
Oh, much more. It's laying the moral groundwork for the entire climax of the story.
First and foremost, it has to be pity and mercy.
Absolutely central. We've touched on it, but it bears repeating. Frodo's decision not to kill Gollum is consistently argued by scholars as the single most critical moral choice in the entire trilogy.
More important than deciding to take the ring in the first place.
Arguably, yes, in terms of the outcome. Because without that specific act of mercy, the ring likely would not have been destroyed. Gollum's presence at Mount Doom, directly resulting from Frodo's pity here, becomes the unexpected mechanism for success.
So, the fate of the world literally turns on that moment of compassion in the Emyn Muil.
It reframes mercy not just as a virtue, but as a kind of higher spiritual strategy. To defeat Sauron, whose power is built on domination and fear, the heroes must employ the opposite. Compassion, restraint, moral integrity. even when it looks like weakness.
Okay, so mercy is paramount. What else is solidified here?
The theme of the corruption of power embodied in the ring. Gollum and Frodo become the two poles of this theme.
Two potential fates for a ring bearer.
Exactly. Gollum shows the end state. Complete degradation of self, total obsession, isolation. Frodo represents the ongoing struggle against that fate. He's tempted, he's changing, but he's still fighting, still capable of moral choice. Their journey together is a constant visual reminder of what's at stake internally for Frodo.
And the isolation you mentioned earlier really amplifies this internal struggle, doesn't it?
Massively. Being cut off from the wider fellowship, from Gandalf's counsel, means Frodo is thrown back entirely onto his own resources, his own conscience. Sam provides loyalty, but not the kind of moral or psychological insight Frodo needs.
So the temptation gets louder.
It does. There's no one else to share the burden or offer perspective. This intense intimacy, just Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, this twisted reflection, magnifies the pressure, the stakes, the psychological warfare waged by the ring. Frodo's choice for pity is made in this vacuum, making it even more significant.
And this leads into Tolkien's very nuanced portrayal of evil, particularly through Gollum.
Yes, this is crucial. Tolkien doesn't just present evil as this monolithic, purely monstrous force like Sauron often appears. In Gollum, evil is shown as, well, pitiable. Broken, cowardly, pathetic even, alongside its malice. It's presented almost as a wound, a disease inflicted by the ring's power, rather than just inherent malevolence. Smeagol is the ghost of the person destroyed by that wound.
Which makes the moral landscape much more complex.
It does. It forces Frodo and the reader to confront the uncomfortable idea that evil isn't always something alien to be simply destroyed. Sometimes it's a corruption of something that was once good, or at least neutral. Pitying Gollum is acknowledging that tragic dimension.
So facing evil isn't just about fighting it, but understanding its roots in weakness and corruption.
And crucially, refusing to let that corruption define your own actions. Responding to Gollum's evil with mercy is the ultimate rejection of the ring's power to twist everything into its own likeness. It's a profound statement about maintaining one's soul in the face of overwhelming darkness. #AirTag outro.
So wrapping this up, our deep dive into the taming of Smeagol really underscores its importance. It's not just a transition chapter. It's the absolute emotional and moral pivot point of the Two Towers, maybe even the whole story.
Definitely. The shift is stark. From the huge external battles of Book 3 to this incredibly intense, claustrophobic internal drama.
And the key takeaway seems to be a redefinition of courage. It's not just about battlefield bravery anymore. Here, courage is found in empathy, in restraint, in choosing the harder, morally complex path of mercy over the simpler path of destruction.
Even when that mercy feels dangerous or naive, it's a grim journey they're on, intimate and psychological, and this chapter sets the tone perfectly.
It also reinforces that idea that runs through all of Tolkien, the significance of small choices made by seemingly small people. That single decision by Frodo to show pity
Carries the entire weight of destiny. Without that specific act of compassion, born in darkness and exhaustion, the analysis strongly suggests there would be no victory at Mount Doom. The grand scale of war becomes secondary to the quiet choices made in the heart.
The strength required for the cracks of doom is different from the strength needed at Helm's Deep. It's moral endurance over physical might.
Exactly. It suggests that, in Tolkien's world at least, the ultimate strategic advantage doesn't always come from military power or clever tactics.
Which leads us to a final thought for you, listening at home.
Yeah, think about this. Frodo's decision to trust, or at least spare and use, Gollum looked like madness to Sam. It seemed strategically foolish, incredibly risky. Many readers probably felt the same way.
You want to yell, "Don't trust him."
Right. But as we've discussed, the deeper analysis reveals this seemingly naive act of grace, this pity, was absolutely essential for the final success of the mission. It was the moral key that unlocked the path forward. So the question to ponder is, how might this apply outside of Middle-earth? Does it suggest that sometimes true strength, true strategic advantage in our own lives might come not from calculated force or self-protection, but from radical, perhaps even naive-seeming acts of compassion, forgiveness, or grace? When might choosing kindness over perceived common sense lead to an unexpected, necessary breakthrough?
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Me